Hi, Carla. So, welcome to this short meeting where we will just go through a test because we have some friends who have tried this test and they have got their results and they would like to know what it means.
Mhm.
And but just to introduce you, and we are sitting both in Denmark, but you're American. So, and you are earlier a school teacher, as I remember, but now you're doing Cincino. So won't you just tell shortly about yourself and why this big change in your life?
Absolutely. So, hi, I'm Carla, and I'm originally from Minnesota in the United States. And way back in, this gives away my age, Pernille, but way back in college, back in 1988, I was an exchange student to Denmark and had got married and had my 4 children here in Denmark. And I loved being a mom, was a teacher, but my youngest actually had an Asperger diagnosis. And as a teacher, I was half-time teacher, half-time counselor. And when other parents had these diagnoses, I was actually the teacher that came with them in to their meetings because that way we could figure out what do we need to do to help implement things in the classroom to help their child. So I knew about diagnoses. I knew things that could help because at the child psychiatrists or psychologists, they actually would give paperwork about how nutrition could make a difference to your child when you had diagnoses. And it made sense to me. And actually, I followed that advice also. But then years later, I heard about Zinzino because they had this test that was like a nutritional based test. So you could check to see if what you were taking really works. That was intriguing to me because I wanted to make sure if what I was giving my son really did work. And since I had 4 kids, I could do my own little study and find out if it was the right product I was giving him. And the results quite shocked me. I found out that it really wasn't working. So I started taking Zinzino with him, and I can tell you it was such a game changer for him. Within 2 weeks, I could see a change in my son already. He was the kind of kid that lived in his own world. He didn't like to go out and do stuff. He actually had trouble with food in a way. He only, I had to like force him to eat and stuff. And one day we're at the dinner table, and he's talkative, not usually him. He's asking the others about their day, not usually him. He is taking second helpings on his own, never him. And it was just like life-changing. And at that time, I was kind of thinking, maybe I have wishful thinking and I'm hoping that this is really making a difference. But within the week, not only were his teachers making comments, but his best friend, um, who he had been best friends for since kindergarten, and at this time he was 13, so they had been friends for 7 years. I went to pick him up one day, and he always had this thing if he didn't want to eat other places. So I picked him up around dinner time, and if they had got started, he would just sit at the computer. Well, this day, before I even got to the door, the front door flies open, and his best friend's parents are standing in the doorway and saying, "What did you do to Christian?" Then I knew it wasn't just me. They said for the first time in 7 years, he came down. When they said come and eat, usually he just stays at the computer. But that day, he came down, sat at their dinner table, had conversation. They said it was just absolutely incredible. And it was strange, but they wanted to know what was going on. And I found out it was Enzino. Now, in Enzino, one of the things that they're testing is we have a balance test. And this is what I found super interesting because it just makes sense to me now. If your body has 37 trillion cells in it, and if you have healthy cells, you're going to have a healthy body. Simple as that. But the reason is because your cells are all these little machines. And like your car, everybody knows their car, it needs gas, it needs oil, it needs to get rid of the exhaust. Well, your cells are important little machines. And those little machines keep running. And there's a cell membrane that protects that little machine. And the cell membrane is made up of omegas. Now, there's different kinds of omegas. Omega-6s come from plants. Omega-3s come mainly from like fish oils and other things too, but mainly that. And you need to have the same amount. Our bodies are made to have the same amount of each, a 1-to-1 balance. Now, one of the things I love about Zinzino is that you can take a test, find out where you're at, and then all of your cells renew. So after 120 days, you can take a second test. And the crazy thing is that so many people are out of balance without knowing it. Now, if you're supposed to be 1-to-1, the max is not getting over 3. So it's kind of gets you excited to find out, well, where am I then? My son started out at 29.4. It was one of the highest tests of Denmark. I think
he was quite different than the other kids, was that?
They were actually 19 and 20-to-1, which is still high. It's still off. Anything over 3 is not good. But we started him and he was 29.4. And now usually you wait 120 days. Usually you wait and take that second test to see where that is, because your cells need to renew and your skin cells go faster, your brain cells go faster. You've got red and white blood cells, and the red blood cells, they're the ones that take the longest. So they take 120 days. So usually people wait. But now I've never been known for my patience. And I wanted to make sure that it was really working. So actually, the first test was 29.4-to-1. And because his teachers noticed it, his best friends noticed it, I was noticing it, I wanted to check him again. And he had already went down within 30 days, he went down to 8-to-1. That's what sold me on Zinzino. That's why I'm so passionate about so many people taking this test and finding out what their numbers are and how important each of them are, because it's not just this one number. There's a lot of details to finding out what your nutrition is doing for your body. By taking this test and looking at the numbers, it makes a big difference.
Definitely. Yeah, me as well. And I forgot to tell that my name is Pernilla and I live in Elsinore with Hamlet in Denmark. And I'm an actress, and I also had this like cravings for sugars. It was so hard on me that I had since I was a child, I think. So, and always had painkillers with me. And I had so sore feet after I gave birth to my son. And after I even took the omega, I really took a very, very expensive omega. And because I knew that it was something I should do, and not that I knew anything about the balance or anything, but and I could just see on my test that I was yellow and it didn't work, this very expensive one I took. And then when I got into balance, I just could feel this big difference about this cravings for sugar. It was just like melting like a fog from my brain. And then I haven't had a painkiller for 7 years. And I totally forgot that I had these sore feet. And even as a bonus, I wake up before the alarm clock in the morning. So this new energy has just, this is a new state of mind. Yeah, for me.
But people don't realize how important it is to have your body working the way it should. And you can, and sometimes you look at you and you wouldn't think that you would have anything wrong. You wouldn't think I'd have anything wrong. But there's a lot of different lifestyle diseases out there, and it's hard to see what's underneath the surface. You know, when people do get sick or they do get a diagnosis, or they do have issues, you know, usually by the time they're diagnosed, it's been going on for a long time.
Yes.
So it's nice to have something that you can actually look at and test to see, well, what is going on? Because it really is about what you're putting in your mouth. That's what is affecting your body, is what you're putting in it. So that's what the Zinzino test is all about. And that's why it's so important to take the test, and then to be able to read it so you can find out, what does this really mean for me and my body, and what can I do about it? So should we start with that?
Yeah, just before we do that, because I have this omega, I took this omega that was really expensive, but I was just yellow. So why won't you just shortly tell why this omega that I bought didn't get me into balance, but this oil that is also with omega makes a change?
Absolutely. Well, I think I'm going to give a little bit more detailed version because I think it's fun. People that are looking at this want to have a little of detail. But years ago, there was two Danish scientists who actually were studying in regards to Greenland. Why, when heart issues were the #1 killer around the world, why didn't they have it on Greenland? And it actually ended up winning a Nobel Prize, and that's why they found out that they were eating a lot of fish, a lot of fatty fish, which was a lot of omega-3, and that's when we had this huge omega-3 boom. So there's so much omega-3, so many fish oils out there. But then they started to study years later, and this guy, Ola Ida, is another scientist up in Norway, and he's like, yeah, but when we're testing people, and if they're from Greenland and eating a lot of fish, even people who are eating the doses that they recommend, the 3,000 milligrams of omega-3, it's not working in the same way. Why doesn't it have the same thing? Well, there's a big difference between oily fish and fish oil. Oily fish, when you find it out in nature, always has polyphenols with it. And they found out it's actually just as much the polyphenols, because that's how you can get it to absorb into your body. So if you're taking a fish oil isn't working, and we're proving it. Actually, Zinzino's taken 1.3 million tests around the world now. Of everybody who's taken a test, 97% fail the test, that are over 3 to 1. So we're showing that what people are taking just doesn't work. But when you take Zinzino Balance Oil or one of the Balance products, after 120 days, we want people to take that second test. And the crazy thing is of everybody that has taken a second test, 95% are down to 3 to 1 or better. Now, we're not at people's homes checking that they're taking it every day. We're not checking that they're taking the right dosage, because it's weight-based. So you need to take what's right for your weight. I need to take what's right for my weight. But so many people are taking something and don't know. So this is different. This doesn't work like fish oil, because fish oil doesn't work. We're taking something that works like fish. That's the difference.
Huge difference. Yeah. Oh, then let's look at that test.
Okay. So I just picked up one of these tests, just anybody's test that I had, and just to take a look at what some of these numbers mean. So when you log on and you get your test back, now it goes to an independent lab. So this is not Zinzino that's taking this test. It's going to Vitas out of Oslo, and you can actually look them up. They do a lot of incredible things for many different organizations. And here's some of the main numbers, and I'm just going to go through them. If you're taking this omega number that I talked about, where you want to be 1 to 1, no more than 3, this person is 32.1. And notice it's red. Now, these numbers can either be just like a stoplight, green, which is good, yellow, which is bad, and red is actually just horrible. That's all we can say. It is just, you want to get this really, if you in your car had a red blinking light going on, you'd bring it to the mechanic to make sure what's going on. Well, here's your red blinking lights. This is your dashboard of your body. So that's one of the numbers. I'm going to go straight to this next number. And this is our omega-3 index. This is telling you how much omega is in your body. Do you know that your body is supposed to be at least 8% omega-3? At least. And here we are only at 3.1. I mean, you know, I kind of think of it as, and actually, if we listen to some of the scientists, they say we should be closer to like 10, 12% omega-3 in your body. If you were baking a cake, Pernille, you would know if you took out something that was 10% of it, it just wouldn't be the same cake. So
That's a
we,
good example.
we need to have a high percentage of omega-3 in our body, or our body just isn't going to work right. Now, the crazy thing is, when I got my son's results back, I went to some of these scientists and talked to them about it. And one of the scientists, Dr. Paul Clayton, who I recommend looking at some of his work, his blog is drpaulclayton.eu. One of the things he told me was he understood how important this was and why it was really powerful for my son, because he said, you know, you're giving a high dose of fatty acids. And do you know what your brain is made of? Fats, not just any fats, omega-3 fat. 60% of your brain is omega-3. So if you are depleted in it, your brain is not going to function right. So if you are having brain issues, well, then we need to get your mental strength the way it's supposed to. And again, here it's in red. The cell membrane, remember I said it needed to be flexible? Well, why is that? Why does it need to be flexible? Why does it need to be in balance? Because if it gets over 3, this gets stiff. The cell membrane gets stiff, meaning all this, the gas for your car can't get in it. If you're not gas in your motor, it's not going to go either. You need to get this 3 to 1 or better so that you can get your nutrients from your food in. But the worst part is that machine's got to go. And it's working and working and working. Did you know if your car, you plug the exhaust, it ain't going to go either? Same. If your cell is really stiff, you're not going to get the toxins that it's making out. And that's creating that chronic inflammation, which is actually what is pretty much the root of all disease. So we need to get your cell membrane flexible. And as you can see here, definitely not where it's supposed to be. Now, the other number here, arachidonic acid, is an omega-6. Now, some people think, ooh, well, that means the omega-6s are bad. No, actually, they're also essential. That's why we call them essential fatty acids. Omega-6 and omega-3 are essential. But because we're getting so much omega-6, that's the whole problem. But one of the omega-6s in your body actually helps to convert, because you can't make it yourself. You can't make omegas in your body. You need them. That's why they're essential. But omega-6 arachidonic acid helps take some of that omega-6 and convert it to omega-3, which we want. Now, this person, when this is not working right, I know that their body probably will take a little more than these 4 months. And so I recommend taking a little bit longer and taking a couple extra milliliters every day to get this also working. And I'm going to go through a little bit about the longer tests, because you can look up some things you can do to promote this arachidonic acid also. Now, when all these other numbers start turning more and more green, finally, this number, your protection value, and I can see that I must have had it up. Since I'm in Denmark, this is in Danish.
Oh, yeah.
I could have quick switched it to English, which I'll quick do here in just a bit. But you can see here it's at 0%. And this is one of the ones that goes from 0 to 100. And we're starting at 0. So it makes sense that your body isn't working the way it's supposed to. And we want to get over 90%. But when all of the others numbers are starting to get into working order, then this one is going to start to move. And we're going to start to get all of these working. Now, since I have it in Danish, I am going to switch to English so that we
Then I
can.
just have a question as well, because my test was 9 to 1, but I don't have any yellow oils. I don't have any maize oil, or we don't have it in our kitchen. But still, I was not in. Where do I get this omega-6 from? I really didn't get it.
I mean, there are, nowadays, well, I guess I would say, if we look back years ago, 100 years ago, we just ate the food from, natural food, things that we could grow in our garden. And just, the cows and the pigs and everything that was just simple food, our home food, whole foods. But when Industrial Revolution came, we started to mass produce foods, and they started to use a lot of the cheaper products to make it cost effective. A lot of the things they're using are plant-based. Plant is where you get a lot of the omega-6s from. So you're getting a lot from that. Now, what we're seeing is like even the cows, we eat a lot of beef, we eat a lot of pork. But they used to be grazing on grass. That's what they would eat. Nowadays, most of them are getting grains, which is again from plants and full of omega-6s. So even the meats we're eating are getting less and less omega-3s and more omega-6s. So that imbalance is really getting bad. And it's the same thing with our chickens. They're being fed grain. They're not usually out eating the grass where they're getting omega-3s from. They're eating grain where they're getting omega-6 from. So we're getting less omega-3s, more omega-6s in almost all of our foods. And that's what this test is actually showing. Now, I took up another test and I pulled it up in English this time.
Yeah.
But I want to just show, even if it's yellow, this is still bad. We don't want yellow. We want green. And this person is getting closer at 3.9, but we want to get 3 to 1 or better. Now, if you have a lot of inflammatory issues, I would recommend even 2.5 or 2.0. And actually, if you look this up, omega-6 rebalance, there's 65 million hits on the internet last time I looked that tells you how important this balance number is. Now, it's not just something we say, here's just some of those numbers and where they should be in the short version. But what I would have you do is go down here. You can see here's the full report and here's a shorter report with just the numbers. But I'm going to just take this. It might take just a minute to start to download. Oh, good. So I would take the full version. When you get your test, go down and here is, you can print this out. Like I said, it's like 21 pages of what your nutrition and your diet is doing for your body. So it goes through and it's an individual. Remember, this is an anonymous test. This is the number that you log in when you go to zinzino-test.com. We like to keep our statistics. That's how we know how many people have taken the test and how many people have been, you know, it's made a difference for. But it really goes through of how the change does start from the inside. Tells you the things we're going to go through in this test. Some of the main keys of these numbers that I just explained. Here's the results we just talked about so you can see it. And this is your individualized test. So where is it you should be? When is it green? Where is your number and how far are you off? So you're going to go through that. That's the short version of those numbers. We actually are testing 11 fatty acids. So you're going to see where you should be, where your own number is, and how much you deviate from where you're supposed to be on each of the 11 fatty acids. And here you're getting that dietary advice. So when I told you that if you don't have your arachidonic acid in order, I would highly recommend you reading this about how you can have your body working better for you. How to read all these calculations, they go through in detail now with what they're measuring and how they're getting to these numbers. So you can see even more detail. So you can either take the short version, get more in depth, and then actually where your sources of the diet is great. But now we're getting into some of the even more details of how this is affecting your cells. So if you like to go into details and kind of get a little bit nerdy about how what your diet is really doing for your health and how to change things, here you can go through all of that. So even down to the cellular basis and your why the balance is so important, all down to details of the short and long chain fatty acids and why this is so important. Like I said, we are health-based and science-backed, and that's why this is so important. The very last pages here is all of the literature that backs up all of the studies, all of the different papers that were published about this that is backing up what this test is saying. So that's why it's so important. So I would recommend printing that out, going in detail. And once you see this, you can't unsee it. And that's how I felt in regards to when my son changed. I can't unsee this. I need to have more people understand how important it is. I don't want to leave the house without taking my Zinzino products. And I know how important it is. And I would probably dare to say, because I've been doing this over 10 years, and I think I probably look and feel 10 years younger instead of 10 years older. So to me, your anti-aging starts from the inside out. So not only am I knowing that I'm doing the best that I can for inside my body, I feel like it's making that difference. And I can see it on a lot of people who are taking it. We're just looking younger and getting younger, aren't we, Pernille?
We are, because it takes time to change all the cells in the body. So even the liver cells, the bone cells, we have changed now because we have used the products for so long time. So we are actually a better version of ourselves.
Yeah.
And I can definitely feel it. Yeah. And to all my family as well. Well, I think this is what our friends need to understand their test. So thank you so much, Carla. Yeah. So if they want to have some questions, the answer for their questions, please contact us, and we will tell all about it. So thank you so much for now, Carla. Yeah.
And have a great day, everyone.
You too. See you.
Bye.